Hello everyone, and thank you all for joining and attending this Musaned training session. This is Abir Al from Musaned Product Management team, and the main aim of today's meeting is to introduce to you as our main partners the new Musaned System with an overview of its complete process activities and relative to Pakistani recruitment offices. But before we start, there is a very important note to consider, which is that Musaned System will get deployed in Pakistan country very soon, inshallah. If this happens, then all recruitment offices in Pakistan will be required to use Musaned System in order to send domestic laborers to Saudi Arabia. In addition to this, Musaned System will be a requirement for the embassy to issue visa for the Pakistan laborers. So we will kick off the meeting explaining what is Musaned. Musaned is basically a digital platform and an integrated solution that aims to facilitate domestic labor recruitment procedures by allowing integration between internal and external parties, with the main focus on protecting the rights of all related stakeholders. Actually, having this process automated has resulted in many benefits, including preventing the illegible operations that breach the contractual process. This process also protects the rights and obligations of the domestic laborers by the documentation of two types of contracts: the partnership contract that is applied for both Saudi office and external office in order to set an initial agreement between them, detailing all the rights and obligations between them. There's another type of contract, which is employment contract, detailing all the rights and obligations between the contract four parties, which are the Saudi office, the external office, the Saudi employer, and the Pakistani candidate. The system also provides real-time process transparency through the notifications that update offices about the contract and the request current state. The system also provides a secured platform and a unified channel that is well secured against any malicious activity. Now we will leave you with a video that explains Musaned in simpler terms.
Are you tired of the current domestic labor recruitment procedures, paperwork, brokers, black markets, lack of information, inability to analyze market or make decisions due to uncertain statistics? All of these affect recruitment companies and agencies, resulting in them losing their customers and closing their businesses. Musaned has the solution. Musaned is an electronic platform that facilitates labor recruitment procedures by introducing a bundle of electronic services. International Contracting System, e-Tawthiq, is one of its major services. It facilitates contracts and agreements between local recruitment agencies and non-Saudi manpower agencies by introducing partnership contract feature, which enables fast and easy electronic contracting between both parties. Additionally, each recruitment agency can have multiple sub-users with different authority levels assigned for each employee working on the system. Saudi recruitment agencies can also use the system to enter their accredited representatives' information in foreign countries, so they can be recognized by Saudi embassy staff when processing their requests. e-Tawthiq also has candidates listing feature HR pool, where non-Saudi manpower agencies will post CVs of all domestic labor ready for employment, allowing Saudi agencies to choose a CV that matches the desired job requirements, and then obtaining the approvals of the related authorities prior to finishing the process. The system also provides the users a chance to address complaints and disputes on their counterparts in order for related authorities to take appropriate actions. All of these features and tools e-Tawthiq has provide multiple benefits: full control and governance on the contractual process, eliminating black markets and ensuring the minimization and elimination of all illegal activities, providing an authenticated source and information about Saudi domestic labor, automating procedures for faster processing. Musaned, the domestic labor program. For more information, please visit musaned.gov.sa.
I believe that the previous video has summarized the whole journey, but we will now need to dig deep into the whole process while simulating the system. But before we do that, we will need to discuss the most frequently used components and terms in the systematic process. Because there are some shortcuts that we need to understand. First of all, we have the PRO. PRO is a shortcut that indicates the name of the private recruitment office, which is based in Saudi Arabia. We also have the component EPRO, which indicates the name of the external private recruitment office, which is based in Pakistan in our case. We also have a page that is called a partnership contract. Partnership contract is an initial agreement contract between both the Saudi office and the external office, detailing all the rights and obligations between them, which will be a requirement for the offices to be able to proceed with the next employment activities. We then have the HR pool component, which is basically a gateway that is unified between the external office and the partnered Saudi office, which allows external offices to add candidates' CVs into the system that will be displayed for the partnered Saudi offices. We also have the employment request or the employment contract. This is basically a contract that is signed by the Saudi office, the Saudi employer, the external office, and the candidate, detailing all the rights and obligations between all of these four parties in order to protect the rights. And now we will move to presenting a demo that would demonstrate the whole journey. So this is basically how the system looks like after successful login. We have several pages as we see in the navigation bar, starting with the dashboard page. The dashboard represents an analytics overview and a summary of the latest requests as a dashboard. Moving to the HR pool that allows the external office to add new CVs for the candidates, and the partnership contracts that allows both the Saudi office and the external office to have a partnership agreement. Moving to the employment requests page that allows the documentation of an employment contract between all the parties, which are the Saudi office, the Saudi employer, the external office, and the foreign candidate. Moving to the update license and info page that allows the organization to raise requests to update their license information. And finally, moving to the users management page that allows the delegate user of an organization to add sub-users into the system that can act on behalf of him. We would like to set your focus firstly on the partnership contracts because, as mentioned earlier, this acts as a prerequisite for both offices, the Saudi office and the external office, to have an initial agreement between them in order to be able to proceed with the next employment activities. So as we see here in this page, there are several records that represent partnership contracts. These partnership requests are coming from the Saudi office to this specific external office, requesting an approval for the partnership agreement. Each record or each contract is connected and associated with a specific status representing the current state of the contract. So as we see here, there are several states of the contract. Some contracts are pending, some contracts are under status approved, some contracts are rejected or cancellation pending, or some contracts are cancelled. The first record is actually under status pending, as we see here in the orange tag. This means that this contract is coming from the Saudi office and it is pending for my approval as an external office to either approve or reject the request. The external office can basically click on view contract in order to view the details of the contract by clicking on this button. After that, a PDF file would be generated representing the content of the contract, including all the details, so that the external office can view the contract. the external office can download the contract by clicking on the download icon, or he can print the contract by clicking on the printing icon. After having a look at the contract, then the user can decide to approve or reject the contract. If user clicks on approve button, then the contract would turn to approved, and if the user clicks on reject button, then the contract status would be turned to rejected. User can also click on notifications in order to view all the statuses that the contract has been through, starting from the bottom. This contract started with the status approval pending. Each record is associated with the action maker, the exact user who did this action, meaning the name of the Saudi office, at this specific date and at this specific time. After that, the contract was approved and action was taken by a specific external office at this specific date and time, until the final state of the contract, which is cancelled, which was taken by this user at this specific date and time. This would allow more transparency for the notifications. In case the contract status was approved, meaning that the external office has approved this partnership contract, then a user can cancel this contract later if he wants by clicking on the cancellation button. After that, user should confirm the cancellation so that the contract status would turn to cancellation pending, meaning that a cancellation request is now sent to the Saudi office waiting for his approval on the cancellation. So if the Saudi office approves the cancellation, then the contract would be turned to cancel. In case the Saudi office did not take action yet, then user can undo his cancellation by clicking on undo cancellation, so that the contract would be turned back to its previous status, which was approved. As we see here, there are several statuses for the contract. User can easily filter the contract by clicking on the desired state. For example, if user wants to view only the pending contracts waiting for his approval, he can do so by clicking on the desired state. User can also select more than one status to search for. As for the cancellation pending status, as we see here, there are two different cases, and it is clear that in the first case, there is a cancellation request coming from the Saudi office because of the accept and reject button. So this case represents that the Saudi office has sent a cancellation request to the external office, waiting for his approval to either accept the cancellation or reject the cancellation. So if the external office clicks on the accept button, then the cancellation would be accepted and the contract would turn to cancelled. Otherwise, the contract status would remain the same. While in the second case, it is clear that I, as an external office, I'm the one who sent the cancellation request because of the undo cancellation button. User can also filter the contracts based on a specific Saudi office name in order to facilitate the search procedure. User can also search for a specific contract by directly entering the Saudi office license number, or by searching for the contracts that have been created from a specific date into a specific date, and then the list would be updated accordingly. User can also directly search for a specific contract number, and then the list would be updated subsequently. A very important note to consider in this page is that if a partnership contract gets to cancelled, This means that there is no longer an agreement between the Saudi office and the external office, which prevents the Saudi office from displaying the added candidates from this specific external office, and which would accordingly prevent those offices to have employment requests later. Moving to the second page for the APRO, which is the HR pool, this is actually considered one of the most important pages for the APRO user, because through this page, the office can add new candidates that can be created under this organization. User can add a new candidate by clicking on Add New Candidate button. After that, the candidate pre-check form would appear to the user so that APRO can be able to fill all the personal details of the candidate, starting with the candidate ID number and the candidate passport number, the candidate surname and the other names, and the date of birth for the candidate. All of the candidate's personal details should be unique, meaning that one candidate cannot be existed in more than one APRO. If so, system would display a window stating that this candidate is already existed with another APRO, in which this APRO is expected to contact the APRO to delete this candidate. And the other APRO's details are displayed for the user in order to facilitate the offline communication. So this candidate cannot be added to the organization unless the other APRO deletes it from his organization. In order to add a candidate under a specific organization, the candidate details should be unique. If user clicks on continue with a valid details, then the system would represent the full detailed form for the candidate where user can fill all the required fields, starting with the surname, other names, and the date of birth in Georgian. These personal details would be retrieved from the pre-check form. After that, user should be able to fill the gender value, whether male or female, so that the job or the occupation of the candidate would be filtered based on the selected gender. User should also fill the field of marital status, stating the status of the candidate, whether single or married, and the religion of the status, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. After that, user could select the qualifications of the candidate. User can actually select more than one value. He can also select more than one skill for the candidate. The more skills that are added to the candidate, the more easier the candidate can be searched for. After that, a user could fill the years of experience of the candidate in country and the years of experience abroad, if available. User should also fill the mobile number for the candidate and first of all upload the personal photo of the candidate. And the passport photo of the candidate. After that, user would be directed to the second section of the form, which is the passport details. User should fill the passport issue place and the passport issue date. and the passport expiration date. After that, user would be directed to the last section of the page, which is filling the address and the relative contact necessity information, the relative name, the relative kinship, the relative phone, and the relative address. If all the required fields are filled by the user, he can click on Save in order to save the details of the candidate. As we see here, the passport image of the candidate is a required field, so all the required fields should be filled by the user. After filling all the fields with valid data, the candidate has been successfully added to the HR pool page of this organization. After that, user can view the entered details of the candidate by clicking on View. The system would represent the user entered details, and user can also represent the details of the candidate as a PDF format by clicking on the View CV button. After that, the system would generate the user's created candidate details as a PDF format, where user can easily download the file or print the file by clicking on the print icon or the download icon. If the candidate status is available, then user should be able to edit the candidate details by clicking on Edit link. User would be directed to the candidate form, where he can edit any entered value. After that, he should click on Save button in order to save the updated information. In case user wants to delete a specific candidate, this candidate status should only be under available status. If the candidate is available, then user can delete the candidate by clicking on the delete hyperlink, and then he should confirm his action by clicking on confirm. After that, the candidate would be successfully deleted from the user's organization. As we see here in the footer, there are several pages under the HR pool. User can switch between the pages through the pagination by clicking on the desired page, and he can navigate through the HR pool pages easily by clicking User can also filter the candidates according to the status of the candidate. For example, if user only wants to view the available candidates, he could do so by clicking on the available status. Also, user can search for more than one status by clicking all the desired statuses in order to have a customized list of the candidates. User can also filter the HR pool page through sorting the candidates based on date, either newest or oldest, or by sorting the names either ascending or descending order. User can also search for specific candidates by specifying the desired job or the desired skills. User can select more than one skill to search for. User can also search for candidates by specifying the qualification of the desired candidate and by entering the range of age. For example, if I want to search for candidates aging from 20 to 30, I can do so by specifying the range and clicking on check so that the list would be filtered based on my selection. I can easily unselect the filters by clicking on the X icon. User can also search for candidates by selecting a specific gender, a specific religion, or by searching for the creation date from a specific date to a specific date, or by directly enter any keyword that is available on the candidate details. For example, I can search for candidates by specifying the passport number, and the list would be customized based on my search results. Okay, so now after the Saudi office and the external office have had a partnership contract agreement, and the external office has uploaded list of CVs for candidates, then now we can say that the EPRO would be able to receive employment requests coming from the Saudi office for a specific Saudi employer and a specific Pakistani candidate in order to process the employment procedure with, which we will discuss in the coming page, which is employment requests. Employment requests. This page displays all the employment requests contracts that have been received from the Saudi Recruitment Office. Each record is associated with its current status as displayed in the colored tag and its detailed contract information, including the contract number, the visa number, the employer name and ID, the candidate name. If user clicks on the candidate name, then the user would be redirected to view the detailed information of the candidate. User can also view the job or the occupation of the candidate under this contract and the nationality of the candidate, the name of the PRO, and the status of the payment, whether it is paid by the private recruitment office or unpaid, and the creation date of the contract. As we see here, the status of the contract is EPRO approval, meaning that the request was received by the private recruitment office and it is waiting for my action as an EPRO to either approve the contract or reject the contract. User can then scroll down to view all the contract details, including the contract parties, the employer information, the candidate information, and employment details, including the city of work, the issuing authority, the salary details, and the PRO and employer signed contract. User can click on this image to view the signed contract image. A user can now, after taking a look of all the contract details, user can take an action for this pending contract by either approving the contract or rejecting it. If user clicks on reject button, then the contract status would turn to rejected. And if the user clicks on the approve button, user should be able to upload the signed contract by the EPRO and the candidate. If user uploads the contract, then the status would turn to EPRO approved. In case EPRO wants to send this contract for foreign MOL for their approval, then the EPRO can click on the send to foreign MOL button so that the contract would be turned to the foreign MOL account for their approval. As we see here, the contract status has been turned to foreign MOL approval. User can click on Notifications tab in order to view all the statuses that the contract has been through, starting from the first status from the bottom, which is EPRO approval, and for each status is associated with its logs, including the office who has taken the action, the date of the action, and the time of the action. Reaching to the current state at the upper side, we have the current state is the foreign MOL approval, and the action was taken by the EPRO at this specific date and time. In case the contract status was EPRO approved, or foreign MOL approval, or foreign MOL approved, then the EPRO should be able to cancel the contract by clicking on the cancel button. After that, user should insert a cancellation reason by selecting a value from the drop-down list. If user clicks on cancel, then the cancellation request would be sent to the PRO for approval, because in case the cancellation occurs in one of these statuses, then the cancellation should be mutual, meaning the approval should be stated by the two parties, which are PRO and the EPRO. If the cancellation request was approved by the private recruitment office, then the contract would turn to cancelled. Otherwise, the contract status would remain the same. User can also filter the employment request list by sorting the values by either the newest or oldest. User can also search for a specific employment requests under specific occupations. User can also search for employment requests by specifying the city of work of the candidate and gender of the candidate, whether male or female, or by directly searching the PRO name, payment status, whether paid or unpaid, or by specific keywords. If user clicks on through this filter, which is the keywords, user can search for any value that is available in the contract details. So this is basically acts as a search engine where user can type, for example, the visa details or the passport number of the candidate. After that, the system would filter the results of the list based on the user's selection. User can also search the employment requests by entering the employer ID or contract number or the visa number. User can easily search for specific requests by specifying the desired statuses to be shown. For example, user can select one status to search for or multi-selection of the statuses. Regarding the filter by section of the filtration bar, in case PRO selects one of the statuses appeared in the left-hand side of the drop-down menu, system would display employment requests that ever had the selected status during the entered dates. So if one of the statuses was selected, then user should also select the desired date in order to display the employment request that ever had the selected status during the entered dates. In case PRO selects the creation date option, which is the last value from the drop-down list, then our system would display all the employment requests that created during the entered dates. In case PRO selects the last action date tab, then the system would display employment requests that ever had last action during the entered date. For example, if I click on the status foreign MOL approved and I select the desired date range, then system would display employment requests that ever had the status foreign MOL approved during this specified date. Now we will move to the last two pages, which are the update license and info page and the users management page. Before starting with the update license and info page, an important note to consider is that if the organization's license got expired, then a user under this organization cannot perform any action in the system unless the license is renewed. So after the license renewal, then the organization should raise a license renewal request through the system so that Musaned team would update the date. And the users under this organization will get activated again to use the system. As for the update license and info page, through this page, user can raise new update license and info requests by clicking on the add button. After that, user should specify the information that needs to be updated. For example, if the organization's name was changed or updated, then this information needs to be updated also in the system. So the EPRO needs to raise a request to update the organization name in the system. Or for example, if the organization license date was about to expire or was expired, so the organization has to raise a new request for the system in order to update the license date. After specifying the information to be updated, user should upload an attachment that supports his request. After that, user can click on save so that the update request would be sent to the operation team in Musaned to process the request. The request status would turn to pending until the request is processed by the operation team. If it is updated by the operation team, then the request status would turn to updated. User can create more than one request if there are more than one information to be updated related to the organization. And user can search for the raised request by this office by specifying a specific range of date, from a specific date to another specific date, or by basically sorting the requests by either the newest or oldest. Moving to the last page of the system, which is the user's management. This page is enabled only if the user's type is delegate or the user is the admin of the organization. If the user type is delegate, meaning that he is the admin of this office, then he can add sub-users for this organization by clicking on Add Sub-User button. After that, user should fill all the required details here, including the first name of the sub-user, the last name of the sub-user, and the email of the sub-user. An important thing to note here is that the email of the sub-user should be unique, meaning that the system would not allow user to create more than one sub-user having the same email. So the email value should be unique in the system. If the email was unique, then the system would allow to create this user under status pending login. Now, the sub-user have received an invitation email on his mail inbox where he can open and complete the registration procedure by setting the username and the password and confirming the new password. If all these fields have been filled by the sub-user, then he can successfully use these credentials in order to log into the new system. After that, user status would turn to active, meaning that the user could successfully log into the system. As a delegate user, I can deactivate a specific sub-user by clicking on the deactivate button. If I confirm my action, then the user's status would turn to inactive. I can later reactivate the user's status by clicking on activate button and confirming the action so that the status would turn to active. As a delegate user, I can view all the sub-users that are under my organization, and I can filter the users based on their status. Pending login, meaning that they have received the invitation email, but they have not logged into the system yet. If for any reason the sub-user could not receive the invitation email, then the delegate user can resend invite by clicking on the resend invite button. User can search for the sub-users by selecting more than one status, or by directly entering their first name, last name, or email in order to search the user with. User can also click on View button in order to view the details of the sub-user. In case for any reason the language version of the system was set into Arabic, then user can easily switch between the languages by the language icon here. He can click on the EN icon in order to reset the language into English, and he can click on the AR language icon in order to set the web content into Arabic. User can easily log out of the system by clicking on the Profile Information drop-down menu, after that selecting the Logout option, so that user would be able to log out of the system successfully. Now we will move to the next aspect of our meeting today, which is the company registration to the new Musaned system. So I, as a Pakistani office, how would I get registered in the new Musaned system? First of all, we have all the official emails of the Pakistani recruitment offices. So the first step is that the external private recruitment office will receive an announcement email with a registration form link. This link would require some fields to be filled by the organization, including a screenshot of the NJAS account of the organization, the license number, the license copy, the name of the responsible person of the organization and the title of the responsible person, the ID and passport attachment of the responsible person, and 2 of the mobile contact numbers. After that, Musaned team will register your organization in Musaned system. After that, an invitation would be sent to the official organization's email in order to complete the registration procedure. User should click the provided link in the email to complete the registration by setting up a new username and password in order to be able to access the system with these access credentials. Now, after doing all the previous steps, then user would be able to successfully log into the new system by using the newly registered username and passcode. The system also provides the capability of updating users' profile information after login. For example, a user can change the current mail that is using for accessing the system. User can also change the current passcode that is using for accessing the system. And a user can also add and set up the two-factor authentication feature. This is actually a very important feature that we always recommend users to set up in their accounts in order to ensure the account security. Two-factor authentication is basically an extra layer of account protection that is used to ensure the security of user account beyond just a username and password, meaning that after user enters the basic credentials, which are the username and passcode, then system would ask the user to verify its identity by enforcing user to enter the extra code that was received by an external channel, which is Google Authenticator app in our case. And we will dig deep into the way of setting up and updating the user's profile information now. I'm currently accessing the new system as an external private recruitment office user after logging in using the username and password that I have just created upon receiving the invitation email from the system, and have completed the registration procedure by setting up a new username and password. In case a user wants to manage his personal account details, he can do so by clicking on the profile information icon and then click on Manage Wahed Profile tab. After that, user would be directed to manage his personal details. As we see here in the left corner, there is a navigation bar including many tabs where user can edit information regarding each one. The first one is the account. User can edit the email of this user by just entering the new email. After that, user can also edit the first name information and the last name information. As we know, user can register or can log into the new system using either the email value or the username value. The email value can be edited with time after login. However, username value should never be edited. If user enters the desired changes, he can click on Save to save the updates. After that, user would be able to enter or log into the new system with the new email that was just updated. In case user wants to reset the password or change the password of the system, he can do so by clicking on the password tab on the left side, and he can enter the value of the new password. After that, he has to confirm the new password and click on Save button in order to save the details. After that, user can log into the new system using the newly registered password. Moving to the fourth and the most important tab in the navigation bar, which is the Authenticator. Through this page, user can set up or activate the two-factor authentication feature by just installing one of the following applications on the mobile, either free OTP application or Google Authenticator application. We would recommend uploading the Google Authenticator application because it's much easier to use. After that, user should open the application through his mobile and scan the barcode that is displayed in the screen. User then should enter the one-time code provided by the application and click Save to finish the setup. In order to recap the method of setting or activating the two-factor authentication feature on the new Musaned system, user should first upload the Google Authenticator application on his mobile. After that, user should click the add icon available on the application in order to be able to scan the barcode that is displayed on the Musaned screen. After that, the application would display a one-time code that should be copied and pasted on the one-time code field available on Musaned screen. After that, he should click Save in order to finish the setup. Doing so, user can log into the system by using his access credentials, which are the username and password, and the system would ask the user to enter the extra one-time code that has been provided by the Google Authenticator application in order to verify the identity of the user. The first page that would be displayed to me as an APRO user is the dashboard page, where user can have a comprehensive overview of the latest updates of the request. As we see in the first section of the page, we have the analytics overview representing data visualizations that indicate the number of partnership contracts, as we see in the visual on the left-hand side. This visual actually represents the number of approved partnership contracts. As we see in this example, we have 4 approved partnership contracts and 1 pending partnership contracts, meaning that there is 1 partnership coming from the Saudi Recruitment Office, and it is pending for my action to either approve the request or reject it. On the left-hand side, we have the second visual, which is related to the employment requests. As we see in this example, we have 38 as the total number of employment requests classified by each status. For example, we have here 1 pending employment request, which is pending for foreign MOL approval. And we have 14 cancelled employment contract and 23 contract under the status of arrived case A. Moving to the second section of the page, we have the latest employment requests. This section actually represents the latest updates on the last 4 employment requests. Each record is associated with the contract details containing contract number, visa number, employer name, candidate information, the occupation of the candidate, nationality, the name of the PRO, which is the Saudi Recruitment Office, and the payment status, whether paid or unpaid, and the creation date. We will dig deep into the employment request details in the main page, which is related for the employment requests. And on the last section of the dashboard page, we have the latest candidates, representing the latest 4 updated candidates that are added to the system by this APRO. Here, through this page, the system allows user as a shortcut to create a new candidate through the dashboard view, while the main step or the main process of creating a new candidate would be through the HR pool main page. Okay, so now that we have covered all the important aspects that need to be discussed today as a training session for the release of Musaned System, we would like to thank you all for your time today, and we are excited to deploy the system in Pakistan country very soon, inshallah, so you can easily manage the whole employment procedures from Saudi Arabia. Now that we have the official emails of your organizations, we will send you an announcement before the deployment in Pakistan country, which will include all the details, including user manuals and the link to be able to access the system. Thank you all and have a good day. In case you have any question or you want to share any recommendation, please share them through the following link that is appeared on the screen. And thank you all.